So move over to Manchester City. That 115 charges case is actually now finally concluded. Although, when will we ever know anything about what happened? How long till we get an outcome? I know we talk about this every week, but I don't really think it even matters that it's concluded for the general public, right?
Yeah, look, it's difficult, isn't it? I mean, we heard the magic words "closing arguments" this week, and so yes, it's coming to this particular phase of the situation. However, given it's taken the 12 weeks for the actual hearing, that means there's 12 weeks of evidence to go through and scrutiny in the whole thing. So I still don't expect much before Easter in terms of hearing anything. One journalist in the UK yesterday, a well-renowned journalist, Martin Ziegler, said he thought in the next month. I just don't see it. I think it's going to take till Easter, and then of course we're into appeals and all sorts of things depending on the judgment. So yeah, we're still sitting here with a popcorn, and we're going to have to get another portion of popcorn ready, I think.
And throughout this, 115 charges case, we haven't heard a lot, but most recently what we have heard is that the 115 charges have actually been up to 130 charges. Why is that? What are the extra 15 charges?
Yeah, I think that they've always been there as just sort of subcategories of the charges. So I think actually, if we looked at it right from the start, it's always been about that number. But I think when you count them up as, it's like category A, B, and C of subsection 112. So if you wanted to add them that way, you can have different views. But it's become known as the 115. So I think we'll stick with that just for common sense. But you could probably split hairs and say it's 130.
And how many charges do you think actually need to be accepted in order for this to be a really drastic resolution? Or it could be one charge, it could be all charges, and it won't make much of a difference?
You're right. It really depends on the gravity of that individual charge and the evidence that's thrown up against it. If there's proven to be deception and really covering up, of course those sort of things matter a lot more. And if it just turns out to be splitting hairs of a definition, then people won't be so tough on them. So, look, it's all going to be in the evidence that we've had the last 12 weeks. Manchester City remain very sure and very robust that everything's okay. The Premier League are equally as robust in saying they're not okay. So, we'll have to see the evidence. It's going to be a grandstand situation. And I think it's going to be a very lengthy situation. I think with Everton, we had a very big judgment. This one is probably going to be 5 or 6 times bigger in terms of the actual number of pages from the hearing. So we'll have to sit down and get ready for it.
And as we get closer and closer to having a decision on the 115 charges, in the back of my head, I feel like that's been weighing on the Manchester City squad. Do you think that's been any reason for the results that we've been seeing as of late?
I think it's difficult to connect the two, but often, and I tend to agree that there's often some sort of nagging noise in their head that isn't direct. It doesn't mean much to those players, but still, it's in the conversations sometimes around them. They hear it on the radio, they see it in the media, and it has a subconscious effect. And I've always felt that, again, with Everton, around the points deduction, I always felt there was some sort of subtle subconscious impact that does affect the squad in some way. I don't think that's the reason for the decline in performances recently. I think that's more to do with injuries and certain things, but it certainly hasn't helped. Let's put it that way.
And what do you make of Man City being rumored to be the one powerful English club? That's kind of in air quotes, but the one powerful English club not interested in forming the Super League 2.0. Obviously, we know that the first one didn't really come to fruition. Manchester City was the last big Premier League club to actually accept the proposal. And now it's being rumored that Madrid and Barcelona continue to want to make it happen. And Man City is kind of the one big English club not interested.
Well, if I remember correctly, the sanctions after the European Super League adventure that were put in place by the Premier League included a fine for the clubs that were involved, but also the threat of a 30-point deduction if it was to be tried again. So I would imagine City are just sitting quiet with enough going on right now and enough on their plate to think we're not going to get involved in anything or give anybody a chance to point a finger at us right now. So I think that's really the reason why there's no movement. And I would think it would be in all the best interests of everybody just now for it to be silent and to be quiet while the 115 is going on, and not to raise any other fronts in a battle right now. So I think that's probably why it's the case that you mentioned.